Bronson Reed reacts to losing the NXT North American Championship, Peyton, Royce, and Billie comment on their WWE exits, and Samoa Joe has high praise for a former Universal Champion. Hello everyone, Jose G here bringing you today's top stories in today's Sportskeeda Wrestling News Roundup. To stay up to date with all of our content, be sure to like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Bronson Reed reacts to losing the NXT North American Championship. Bronson Reed suffered a major shock on this week's episode of NXT. The Auszilla unexpectedly lost his NXT North American Championship in a match against Isaiah Swerve Scott in a one-on-one match. The loss came after some substantial interference from Hit Row. Well-timed distractions from Top Dollar and Ashanti the Adonis allowed Isaiah Scott to capitalize. Scott hit the house call on Bronson Reed, followed by a 450 splash and then pinned him for the 3 count. This gave Isaiah Scott his first championship win in NXT, but left the former champion completely dumbfounded. Following his loss, Bronson Reed took to Twitter to apologize for the result of the match. Reed mentioned his friends, family, and fans, claiming he failed them. He ended the tweet by asking the question, "Now what?" The loss came as a surprise not just to Bronson Reed, but to the NXT universe as well. This was only Reed's first one-on-one title defense since he won the title. Additionally, Reed held the title for a little more than a month. It really does raise the question, what's next for Bronson Reed? Bronson Reed suddenly losing the title makes no sense from a creative standpoint. The Australian star is popular with fans and does not have any issues backstage that we know of. The only sensible explanation as to why WWE chose to take the title off of him is that they may be preparing him to bring him up to the main roster. This wouldn't be much of a surprise considering Bronson Reed was seen backstage on SmackDown recently and even had a dark match against Robert Roode. Reed also appeared on Main Event where he defeated Drew Gulak. It may still be early in his career, but a move to the main roster would be a big step for Bronson Reed. WWE confirms Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch's wedding. Following an initial tease on social media by Seth Rollins, WWE confirmed the news. Rollins and Becky Lynch indeed got married on Tuesday, June 29th. Posting on both Twitter and WWE.com itself, the company has confirmed that the two former multi-time world champions will tie the knot. Interestingly, WWE's online media division seems to have nearly as much information as other wrestling media outlets do. But chances are good that fans will soon see, in the words of WWE's website, more photos from the big day come flooding in. And of course, we at Sportskeeda Wrestling will report on them when they are available. Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch got engaged in August of 2019, and they announced the news on the same social media platform on Instagram. The two stars were shortly thereafter put into a storyline together against Baron Corbin and Lacey Evans for their respective WWE championships. Following the 2020 Money in the Bank pay-per-view, Lynch revealed she was pregnant with the couple's first child. She then gave the WWE Raw Women's Championship to the Women's Money in the Bank winner, Asuka. Lynch hasn't been seen on WWE TV ever since. Meanwhile, Rollins regularly appears on Friday Night SmackDown. He took some time off to celebrate the birth of his daughter, but he returned earlier this year. Peyton, Royce, and Billie comment on their WWE exits. Cassie Lee, formerly known as Peyton Royce, has opened up about the overwhelming feeling she experienced after her final WWE match against Asuka. Speaking recently on Busted Open Radio, Lee said that she had a weird feeling that the match was going to be her last WWE in-ring appearance. A month later, she received her release from WWE along with her former Iconics tag team partner Jessica McKay, formerly known as Billie Kay. Lee and McKay appeared on the latest episode of Renee Paquette's Oral Sessions podcast. Discussing her latest WWE match, Lee clarified that she was not happy at the time, but did not consider retiring, saying, quote, "My last match with Asuka, and after that match, it was like 3 weeks before WrestleMania. I just had this overwhelming feeling that I said to myself, I'll be okay if that was my last match. I know I wasn't happy, but I wasn't considering retiring or something like that. I just had this overwhelming feeling, you'll be okay. I'll be happy if this is my last match. I'll be okay with it." End quote. Lee's match against Asuka took place on the March 22nd episode of Raw. Asuka, the Raw Women's Champion at the time, picked up a victory in a match lasting 11 minutes. The Iconics were forced to separate back in August of 2020 after losing against the Riot Squad's Liv Morgan and Ruby Riott. asked if she could relate to Cassie Lee's feelings after the Asuka match, Jessica McKay discussed her struggles following their tag team split, saying, quote, "The split was rough. I didn't know who I was as a singles competitor, and that was very confronting. Having Cass not with me anymore. I remember I was like, oh, I'll have to walk to the ring and she's not going to be to my left. So don't look to your left, or don't hold your hand out because she's not going to be there. You're gonna look weird," end quote. McKay added that she did not leave her house for 3 weeks after being informed of her WWE release. She also said she would have struggled more with her WWE exit if Lee had not received her release on the same day. NXT is bringing back the Breakout Tournament in July. Back in 2019, NXT GM William Regal announced the NXT Breakout Tournament, which introduced the fans to names such as Bronson Reed, Cameron Grimes, Isaiah Swerve Scott, and Dexter Lumis. Last night on the Black and Gold brand, announced that the tourney will be making a comeback in 2 weeks. According to the details we have so far, the new Breakout Tournament is set to kick off on July 13th, 2 weeks from now. And this Friday's episode of 205 Live, which was pre-taped before NXT began, will feature some qualifying matches. 8 new stars have been advertised to compete, though there's no word on who they might be. We will be introduced to them in the next 2 weeks leading up to the tournament's start. The 2019 NXT Breakout Tournament was won by Jordan Myles, who defeated Cameron Grimes in the finals to earn himself a championship match of his choosing. Myles would go on to challenge then NXT champion Adam Cole, though coming up short in otherwise impressive showing. Jordan would eventually leave the brand and the company shortly thereafter regarding a controversy over a t-shirt image designed for him. ACH has since announced his retirement from pro wrestling. Nearly every competitor in the previous Breakout Tournament except Myles has gone on to significant success in NXT, with Angel Garza even moving onto the main roster as well. Garza and Bronson Reed were the first 2 participants to obtain gold in NXT, with Garza defeating Lio Rush to obtain the NXT Cruiserweight Championship and Reed besting Johnny Gargano to win the North American title. Hopefully this new tournament will introduce the world to even more exciting performers. Samoa Joe has high praise for former Universal Champion. 2-time NXT Champion Samoa Joe has reflected on his memorable 2015 and 16 rivalry with Finn Balor. The two men fought in 3 NXT TakeOver main events between December 2015 and June 2016. Balor won the first 2 matches at NXT TakeOver London and NXT TakeOver Dallas before Joe defeated the Irishman at NXT TakeOver The End. They've also competed at dozens of live events, including 1 match in Balor's home country. Speaking on Ryan Satin's Out of Character podcast, Joe said his live event victory over Balor in Dublin, Ireland was a standout moment from the rivalry, saying, quote, "I remember the match in Ireland. I mean, you could feel it. It was in the air that night. The hometown boy was going for it, so those experiences and everything I felt about Finn is just an incredible charismatic performer. It makes my job easier when he can rile up the crowd and they want the demon to kick ass," end quote. Samoa Joe is still the only WWE superstar to record a televised victory over the demon. Joe defeated Balor's alter ego in a steel cage match at NXT TakeOver The End, bringing it close to their 8-month rivalry. Finn Balor surprisingly lost the NXT Championship to Samoa Joe at an NXT live event in Lowell, Massachusetts in April of 2016. Joe recalled how the reaction from the NXT's passionate fans that night was exactly what they hoped to receive, saying, quote, "That is what I kind of signed up for. Those completely out of left field. What are they doing? This is not right. No, no, no. Wait, it is right. It's so right. It's the greatest thing ever. No, it's the worst thing ever. It's the greatest thing they've ever done. No, it's the worst mistake they've ever made. All that, me too. Me and Finn were on board from the beginning," end quote. In the same interview, Samoa Joe confirmed he absolutely plans to make an in-ring comeback. The 42-year-old recently returned to WWE as an on-screen enforcer in NXT 2 months after he surprisingly received his release from the company. Thanks for watching today's Sportskeeda Wrestling News Roundup. For more news stories and exclusive content, be sure to follow us on all social media. If you like this video, give us a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button. Download the Sportskeeda app for the most up-to-date stories in the world of wrestling.